Let me ask my two panelists here what their views are on that. I mean, Michael, who've worked on so many interesting and exciting large-scale projects, how do you think about the broader societal and economic benefits that these types of projects bring to cities?
Well, I mean, we've certainly learned in like our Brooklyn Bridge project that a part of the Brooklyn waterfront that when we started planning it 20 years ago, people were saying, you know, nobody will come there. Last year, 5 million visitors. Last weekend, it felt like there were 5 million visitors there. Yes. The first warm day that we've had. But I want to go one step back from your question, which is why has this sea shift happened? Why is it that in the valuation that people are saying about where they want to live, why have we reached a moment where this is becoming a higher concern? And I don't know that I have the answer. I know that it's true, and I think it's because of the emphasis on, the general emphasis on quality of life that's so much more, you know, it is somewhat the consequence of our success as a society, but this isn't an American phenomenon. This is something that's going on all around the world that people, you know, and I think it's interesting to think about what has shifted. And, you know, we can all think of some things, but it's like we've reached some tipping point. You know, we've reached some tipping point where people have learned that for their life to be meaningful the way they want it to be, they want to have access to that. And it's not, you know, it's across. What's so interesting in Brooklyn Bridge Park, I mean, we have 2.8 million people living in Brooklyn alone in New York City, and when you go there, it's not black and white and brown. It is literally, you know, people from 80 or 100 nations around the world and every possible variation on religious beliefs, all being magnetically drawn to the edge. It's totally true that people want this, you know, and it's interesting as funding for park projects has, you know, begun to dry up, and that's not a reflection on the last year or two, but on the last 5 or 6 years, private philanthropy is tremendously shifting emphasis to putting private dollars into public amenity for the public good. That's interesting. I mean,
yes,
I think
the Clyde Warren Park here in Dallas is a very good example of that, right? I mean, it was mostly funded by private dollars.
I mean, I've worked on a couple of parks that are being built with public money, and the whole river project in Toronto is a consortium of public money, but most of the parks we're working on are privately funded now from foundations, and really big gifts, really big.
Yeah, that is actually incredible, and I think it's an amazing progression. And I think as an economist, we of course very often focus on jobs and employment, and that's one of the things I was emphasizing here, job creation. But of course, when we think about the more comprehensive well-being of a human being, it's obviously not just related to somebody's salary or her income or her wealth, but it's, you know, living a fulfilling life. And that's why, you know, maybe James, you who've worked so much in these types of micro gardens, could you tell us something about, for example, the psychological or maybe the aesthetic benefits from having a nice garden?
Sure, we crave beauty. It's an innate sense that we long for. I love that a garden reaches all the senses, all the emotions, and by garden, it's not many acres or small areas. It's just that tactile part of something green that does something. Whether it's studies showing how blood pressure is reduced in nursing facilities or hospitals when there are plants or in their gardens. If you're ill and you're looking out the window and you see either concrete blocks or a garden, just the benefits of that. We crave that. We crave beauty. We crave the ability to walk through a door, and whether it's a fern that's beside the door that greets us, that says, welcome home. I feel like what it is for my clients in particular is they want that separation between house and home. House is more structural, home tugs at the heartstrings. And part of that is the plantings, the gardens there in and of itself. So that craving beauty is to me, it's a basic human instinct and of something that we need. And I see that, whether it's your park, if Central Park's your only outlet for the outside, or it's your own 80 acres you live on for yourself. I think the opportunity to create that for people is a true honor, because you're able to translate something that they need, that they're longing for, and you're able to create that separation between house and home.